for a while, and they continue to be at times. Um, so they're responsible for making sure that yeah. Okay, so the boll weevil association is responsible for making sure there's no more, boll weevil outbreak because they're very harmful to plants and everything, especially cotton. Um, so during Hurricane Michael, um, the boll weevil association allowed a temporary forgiveness. We're like, hey, we get it for this year, but you still got to pay us because we need your money to operate. Well, Nikki Freed came in like a year later, and we were like, all right, we need to get this money back. And she's like, no, you can't get it back. You cannot get these farmers to pay you back. And everybody on the board's pissed off because they're like, why in the world should we have to pay? And whenever nobody else did, and like Nikki Free would not allow us. Would It's like what ticks us off? What ticks everybody off though is like it's not her right to say that we can't force for the farmers to pay for that year, but she's still stopping us. Like that's not her right. She doesn't have the responsibility or the right to tell us we can't do it. So
What is up, guys? It's Tuesday night. It is 8 o'clock. You know what that means. We've already had our technical difficulties for the night. You don't have to remember it. Guys, it is such an important show tonight. So before I even start anything, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to ask you not only like, subscribe, leave a comment. That's important. Hit the bell. You'll hear a ringing in your ear for the next 72 hours, but I promise it'll be okay. And then you'll get all of our content as it comes out. But it is so important that you stop right now, that you hit the little share button, and that you send this to everyone you know who has kids, because we're talking about Disney tonight. This is mind-boggling at this point, just what they are doing. They're not even trying to hide it. We'll get into that. Also, as we keep finding these summer camps, I'm going to keep telling you about them because, I mean, they probably won't happen in Florida too much, especially not now. But, you might know some people who might get swept up into this. But there's more summer camps that we're going to talk about. Lastly, what is a woman? We might have some more stuff after that. We'll see where it is. But the question, what is a woman, and why is that question so important right now? We are the Canceled Misfit Show, and it is Tuesday night. So, House Bill 1557 has been signed into law, thankfully, in Florida. Governor DeSantis signed it just last Monday. And again, I will not stop shouting this from the rooftops. This does not stop you from being able to say gay, as apparently everyone thinks is the case. I mean, you had at the Oscars, they were just chanting gay, 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 gay. Just to get back at us Floridians who think, stopping teachers or any third party in a school setting from teaching your kids aged kindergarten to third grade about sexual orientation or gender identities. Because, are you kidding me? I still am in shock that this has to be a thing, but it is. One of the groups of people, of course, who just were not like this, is obviously full of groomers, is Disney. Not all of them, but they are held hostage by a quite militant group of a few hundred Disney employees from who identify as LGBT, who have kids that are... They're holding the company of thousands and thousands and thousands hostage. And they had a town hall with many people to talk about how to support the LGBT. And to talk about this, of course, I'm going to bring back my favorite guy, Marcus. How you been? It's been too long.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm glad to be back. Work's been busy. And the last time I was able to be on, you had the camera difficulties.
Yeah.
And we couldn't do it. So it's good to be back. It's probably going to be pretty busy for a while for me. So it's going to be hard for me to get on. But I'd love to be here. I'll be here as much as I can.
I got you. Well, I'm glad you're here tonight because just how important this is. I mean, you watched the videos that we're about to play in just a second earlier, but you realize just how important all of this is because this is Disney. Like, I don't know about you. I grew up watching Disney. Did you?
I don't know who didn't. I mean, we didn't even have the ability to watch Disney at my house. So we just want to go to my grandparents' house who did have it just to watch it. So it was so impactful in our life that we were wanting to go and watch it anywhere we could, any way we could. And I still remember the good old days with my favorite TV show, still probably Split Off with Zach and Cody. That's still probably my favorite one. So I love it, or did anyways.
Well, I mean, it used to be where, as a parent, you could take an hour, say, hey, kids, watch this movie, watch this TV show. Like, I need a break, right? And you could watch that. You didn't have to pre-screen anything. You knew that you're just going to watch whatever show they were watching, just some characters get up shenanigans. It wasn't that big of a deal. Now, on the other hand, after all this that has been brought to light and that we're about to show you here, you realize that's a thing of the past. Any new Disney material, you're going to have to watch it before you let your 5-year-old watch it, or you're going to have some questions that you don't really want to talk about with a 5-year-old. Like, beyond LGBT, you don't want to talk about, like, sexual anything at all with a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old. That's just not the conversations, at least most parents I know, want to have. Unfortunately, that is not the case at Disney anymore. So we're going to go to this first video. This is of Nadine Smith. She actually spoke at this town hall that Disney had. And while not a Disney employee, they brought her, she is actually from Equality, Florida, is the nonprofit or group she's from. And she has a very interesting take on House Bill 1557. So let's go ahead and watch that.
Coverage, but the context is also who is pushing it.
I'm sorry about this, guys. There we go. So, and I need to come up with a better way to do all this.
But the context is also who is pushing it, what their record is, and what the history is in Florida. You can go back to the 50s, to the Johns Committee, where the legislature was actively put together a task force whose whole job was to root out civil rights workers and any homosexuals in the university system. They destroyed lives. Literally, people committed suicide behind the relentless attack. And then you have Anita Bryant, and many of us are of an age to remember Anita Bryant's Save Our Children campaign, which was premised on the same ideas that undergird this bill. And because of her campaign that equated being gay with being a child predator, she was able to pass a ban on gay people being able to adopt, a marriage ban, and then she took that nationwide. And so when we react to this, a lot of us are reacting from the pain we experienced of being isolated and stigmatized in school. But we're also reacting from the reality that when they can erase you, when they can criminalize your existence, when they can demonize who you are, the next step is to criminalize you and take your kids. And we're already seeing that in Texas. So the slippery slope between these ugly messages, emanating from legislative leaders in our state, and then amplified by our governor, whose spokesperson immediately began calling everyone who opposed this bill groomers, aka pedophiles.
Well, that may be because you're probably pedophiles and groomers. There's a lot to unpack in this video, Marcus. So it was the one where she was talking about how leftists are thinking conservatives want to steal the kids. Do you have anything to say on that before I dig in?
I think my favorite thing is that she used the argument I use so much with the slippery slope ideology that I use a lot. I thought it was funny she used that argument, to be honest. But yeah, I think that the left is trying to groom, like you said. I think we've said it plenty. The left's trying to groom your kids. They're trying to take, control of a lot of aspects of children's lives. That way they can have their vote in the future and do whatever they want to, and who knows what they're up to, because I sure don't. But the best way to do that is to start them young, and that's what they're doing.
That is what they're doing.
Eliminate the parents.
Well, I want to talk about a few things first. First off, if you're at Disney, I think you should be able to produce a better quality video from that, even over like video streaming for one. But that's just me nitpicking. Then you have the Johns Committee that she talked about. So I decided to do a little bit of research on it just because discrediting these people is kind of fun. So the Johns Committee started in the 60s, tried to link civil rights groups to communists, and then when they failed, they went after homosexuals, right? Here's the thing that nobody is going to tell you, and Marcus, I don't think this is going to surprise you one bit, is that all of these people were Democrats. Charlie Johns, the first chairman of the committee, was a Democrat. The Pork Chop Gang, all Democrats. So every time you see someone opposed to civil rights, and up until recently, where they realize that this is a somewhat effective way to go after your kids, anyone who really is hating on LGBT people, it's usually from the left. But past that, obviously, one of two things is happening here, and that is that she has absolutely no idea what House Bill 1557 is. She has totally bought into the lie that it is a don't say gay bill, and that, gay needs to be chanted over and over and over for some reason. Or the worst thing is that she knows exactly what it is, and she just wants to have the ability to groom children. And I think that's what it is for most people who are just dead set against this bill, is they want to be able to groom children. That's why the spokesperson for Governor DeSantis immediately came out and started calling people who oppose this bill groomers. Well, groomers are coming out of the weeds. How can you look at a bill that says don't talk with kindergarten through third grade, 5 through 9-year-olds roughly, about sexual orientation or gender ideology in school, and say, hey, this is a bad idea? unless you just want to groom these kids. Also, we're not trying to demonize anything. Again, we're not trying to demonize anything. We're not trying to demonize gay people or lesbian people or whatever. We just don't want it taught to the kids. We don't want it taught to the kids because we know it'll lead to a lifetime of despair and sadness. And like, I know, I don't want that for my niece. I'm sure, Marcus, you don't want that for any of your family. Like, we're not hating you. We just don't want this pushed on our kids at such a young age. Like you said, Marcus, it's a terrible thing. Also, and Marcus, I want to get your input on this in just a second. How dare you say we are trying to take away your kids? At the end of the video, she says once they demonize you and they make you, criminalize you, they try to take your kids away. How dare you say you're trying to take away our kids? In Texas, which she said, submitting your child to chemicals and surgeries that stop rightful development is abuse. That's all it is. They're looking for child abuse, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's adults by the way, it's abuse for adults too. But adults have at least a little bit more liberty to abuse themselves in this country. But before you say that we're coming after your kids, we're trying to steal your kids, just think about this something. You're the side that wanted masks for children, which led to developmental problems. That seems to be a theme for leftists, right? You're the side that wants kindergarten and pre-Kers to be able to talk about sexual orientation and gender identity. Literally, 5 through 9-year-olds, and I will not stop hitting on that. And you're also the people that don't want parents to know what exactly is happening to their kids in school, which is honestly prime groomer behavior. When you do something to a kid and say, hey, don't tell your parents. Yeah, that makes you a groomer. You don't want us to know what's happening in school. And you can ask in Tallahassee, there's a big story around it, and you can ask them. You're the side that wants drag queen story hour in libraries and even in some churches now. And apparently in a summer camp, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. And as we will discuss, you want to inject LGBT issues even into kids' TV. How dare you say that we want your kids when you are coming after conservatives and conservative values so hard? Marcus, am I right or am I right?
No, you're right. I don't see why kids' TV can't just be kids' TV. Why does it have to involve any sort of transgender or gay movement in any sort of way? Why in the world does it have to involve inflicting the liberal mindset upon kids whenever it's just supposed to be entertaining? Why? What happened to the days where you could just watch Zach and Cody mess around and get in trouble with Mr. Mosby? What happened to those days? Now we got to worry about just random side characters having a gay relationship, or even the main characters are focusing on transgenderism in the middle of a TV show. And I know plenty of parents who talk about, they put on a YouTube video or a Netflix TV show, and they watch it for a little bit to entertain their kids with them. And they're like, okay, well, while they're distracted, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the dishes or some clothes or, housework, whatnot. And they'll come back and they're like, what in the world? What is this? And to watch that innocent looking TV show has now turned into a liberal-minded viewpoint. And now the kid's been subjected to something that they shouldn't be subjected to as a kid. So they've really got to watch. They've really got to watch what their kids are putting out, or what's being put out to their kids, should I say? And it used to not be a problem, and it's just sad.
You're right. It really is sad that it's like this. And Mrs. Smith was not the only person to speak out during this internal meeting. You actually had people from Disney say things that are even worse than this. So next we go to, and I'm probably going to misspell this, or missay this, it's LaToya Raveneau, who's a showrunner for Proud Family, and she really says the quiet part out loud. Check this out.
These content. I grew up watching, all of the classics. They have been a huge, informative part of my life. But at the same time, I worked at small studios most of my career, and I'd heard, you hear whispers. I'd heard things like, oh, they won't let you show this at a Disney show. And I'm like, okay. So I was a little sus when I started. But then my experience was bafflingly the opposite of what I had heard on my little pocket of Proud Family Disney TVA. The showrunners were super welcoming. Meredith Roberts and our leadership over there has been so welcoming to my not at all secret gay agenda. And so I feel I felt it was, maybe it was that way in the past, but I guess something must have happened in the last they're turning it around, they're going hard. And then all that momentum that I felt, that sense of, I don't have to be afraid to let's have these two characters kiss. Let's in the background, I was just wherever I could, just basically adding queerness to if you see anything queer in the show, I'm Proud Family. But I just was no one would stop me, and no one was these content. I grew up watching, all of the classics.
All right, and that is right there is why I need an editor or a producer to run stuff like that for me. But again, she says the not so. She says the quiet part out loud. Their not so secret gay agenda. Disney used to be a place where kids could watch and be enthralled by magical stories. They could lose themselves for a time. Right? So you had stories like, I don't know, Robin Hood with the fox. And you'd just be enthralled by, whatever you were watching. And it was just Disney. It was just Disney. But now, in most stories, they were not sexual in nature. Really, not even much of a hint of it, even heterosexual things. Things like Sleeping Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty were very much nothing more than what you might see as a kid from mom and dad when dad came home from work and mom greeted him. I know in my house it was like that, thankfully. Now you have to start pre-screening every single little thing, right? You have to start pre-screening it to make sure there isn't some of this far left agenda to force this down your kid's throat. But you heard the lady. They're adding in queerness wherever they can. Nobody's trying to stop them, not from the bottom, not from the top. Nothing. Nobody is doing anything to keep this from happening. Instead of making content that all kids can enjoy, because kids don't need to talk about queer stuff, straight stuff, sexually, they don't need to be talking about anything, but you have to narcissistically put it in because you feel like your values are better than the values of parents who wants to keep their children innocent. We know you're coming after their innocence. We know why you're coming after their innocence. You got to destroy their identity. I get that. Marcus, I'm sure, gets that, but it's narcissism. It's blatant narcissism. You think you're morally right when we're not, and it's just sickening. Marcus, you have anything you got to say on this? And I got to reset my camera, so have at it, bro.
Yeah, no, it is sickening. Like you said, to have to screen all this crap is ridiculous. And just the people that understand what happens, and my favorite thing is that a lot of liberals talk about, the grooming of kids and how bad it is. Like there's been celebrities that have groomed teenagers and stuff, and you hear about from the liberal side how bad that is. But as soon as they want to do it to children to get their viewpoint across, it's okay. but it's not okay. Grooming a child is never okay, and I've had to tell many people that this, quote unquote, don't say gay bill has nothing to do with being gay or transgender and not being able to talk about it. A lot of people think, oh, you can't talk about being gay or transgender. No, it's not. That's not what it's saying. It's just stopping the teachers and the school from grooming the kid. That's all it is. It's giving power to the parents to let the parents parent. That's what parents should do, is parent, not have their kids be groomed. And it's sickening that you can't do something as simple as let your kid go to school or watch TV without feeling like your kid may be groomed. So it's sickening to go into this world knowing what we are seeing and what we just heard about putting the gay stuff in anywhere and everywhere they can. It's not right. It's just not. No way around it. It sucks to see.
Marcus, it gets even worse because not only are they is putting LGBT issues in queerness, as she puts it, in everywhere. Not only is that enough from them. Let's see what Alan, and again I'm gonna struggle with this name. Alan Marsh. It's Martsze, whatever that spells. Let's see what he has to say.
Yeah, I've had the privilege of working with the Moon Girl team for the last 2 years, and they've been really open to exploring queer stories. And I'm on the production side. Part of the work that I feel like I can put in is making sure that we take place in modern day New York. So making sure that that's like an accurate reflection of New York. So I put together like a tracker of our background characters to make sure that we have like the full breadth of expression. And we got into a very similar conversation, Carrie, of like, oh, all of our like gender nonconforming characters are in the background. And so it's not just a numbers game of how many LGBTQ plus characters you have. We got the further, the more centered a story is on a character, the more nuanced you get into their story. And especially with like trans characters, you can't see if someone is trans. There's not one way to look trans. And so kind of the only way to have these like canonical trans characters, canonical asexual characters, canonical bisexual characters is to give them stories where they can like be their whole selves.
Oh boy, that's a treasure trove to talk about. At least it gives me a lot of ammunition. One thing, trackers for characters. Like you're so into it that you have to make trackers for these things. Like Marcus, is that crazy or am I crazy?
I mean, I've heard enough crazy stuff from the video from like a minute in. So, the more I'm hearing, the worse it gets. So you're hearing it right.
And not only that, you have to, I can't believe how far down the rabbit hole is that you have to say things like canonical trans characters, canonical asexual characters, canonical bisexual. These are kids. Okay? These are kids. Why do you need canonical anything in kids shows? I mean, the fact that you want giant character arcs for these people, you're missing the point of a kids show. Kids don't know what character arcs are. They don't know thematics of a character. They don't care if he grows from point A to point B. They don't understand any of that. They're kids. They want a stupid, dumb show that can keep them entertained and that they can laugh at, where the characters get into shenanigans, and that's it. They don't talk about how they've transformed in their sexualness, even if it's heterosexual. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is not what kids shows are for. But this is, let me tell you, beyond all the other stuff we talked about, how they want to groom your kids, how they have to steal your kids away from you if they want their ideology to survive, beyond all of that, there's another level of this, right? And it is narcissism. It is virtue signaling to each other. It's not even to people that it's people that they know, who know that they're gay, who know that they're lesbian, who know that they're whatever, bisexual, non-bi, whatever. These people already know it. You don't have to virtue signal to them, because you're trying to virtue signal to the rest of us, and we're just not having it. I mean, if you look at the poll breakdown on a blind poll for Florida's new law, especially among parents, it's like a 70-30 at worst breakdown for it. It's probably closer to 80-20, 85-15, when they're actually told what this is about. But this is virtue signaling to each other that they are woke. And it's also to signal to parents that Disney may not be the place to get their kids' programming from. I kind of waffled back and forth. And Marcus, I don't know if you heard about this. There are becoming alternatives to Disney, to Netflix, to all of these places that actually hate you. And I was kind of waffling on if I wanted to talk about this, because I'm not an advertising arm of the Daily Wire. Although if you want to sponsor me, I am more than willing to be. But they are doing something that no one else is doing. And they are sinking $100 million in the next 3 years into kids programming. And it's going to work its way. They have plans to go into the teen, young adult type entertainment industries, as well as adult entertainment, which, by the way, their adult stuff they're putting out's pretty fantastic. That's just coming from me personally. But this is what's got to happen. We have to support them so that, they can put out kids stuff that is actually good, that you can actually leave your kids alone to watch. But they can't be the only ones, of course. They're the first into the market. We need to support these companies as they are coming up with non-woke, non-virtue signaling, pro-parent, pro-parental values programming. We need to, look into that. We need to look into supporting them with not just on here. I have a Daily Wire subscription, and Marcus, do you? I don't know if you do, but I think you would agree with me that we have to support these other companies that are fighting against Disney, because Daily Wire might be putting in $100 million in the next 3 years. Disney's putting in $34 billion this year into entertainment to try and steal your child. And a lot of that's to try and steal your child away from you. Am I missing anything, Marcus?
No, I don't have a subscription to the Daily Wire like you do, but I follow them on TikTok, Twitter, all that good stuff. I love them. They're great. And they also came out with an alternative razor to get back to
yes. Jeremy's razors. I'm definitely getting some for my father on Father's Day.
I'm
sorry. Spoiler alert. But yes. So, these alternative people who don't hate your guts, specifically as parents, but as conservatives, as Christians, etc., maybe look into them. Now, this does get even worse, because this doesn't stop at producer or showrunner. You ready for this, Marcus? My camera. We're going to see your pretty face for a second. But this also goes straight to the top. Corporate President Carrie Burke. Now, this is hard to listen to, not just because of the content, but because of the 4 different ums in the first 12 seconds, followed by many, many more. So here's that.
I'm here as a mother of 2 queer children, actually, one transgender child and one pansexual child, and also as a leader. And that was the thing that really got me, because I have heard so much from so many of my colleagues over the course of the last couple of weeks, in open forums and through emails and phone conversations. And I feel a responsibility to speak, not just for myself, but for them, to all of us. We had an open forum last week at 20th where, again, the home of really incredible, groundbreaking LGBTQIA stories over the years, where one of our execs stood up and said, we only have a handful of queer leads in our content. And I went, what? that can't be true. And I realized, oh, it actually is true. We have many, many, many LGBTQIA characters in our stories, and yet we don't have enough leads and narratives in which gay characters just get to be characters, and not have to be about gay stories. And so that's been very eye-opening for me. And I can tell you, it's something that I feel perhaps had this moment not happened, I as a leader and me as my colleagues would not have focused on. And going forward, I certainly will be more so. I know that we will be. And I hope this is a moment where, the 50% of the tears, sorry, are coming. We just don't allow each other to go backwards.
Yeah. I'll let you get on it. I just sit back and relax. No, I think I've said all I've thought about this. Really, it's great. It's a great law, and too many people don't understand it. So, um,
How long have people not been able to hear me? That's really bad. Okay, so we're not going to play the game again. Somehow my audio got taken off, but Seattle Museum is hosting a week-long Drag-tastic summer camp. There we go. I'm sure you can hear that now. You can. So, a Drag-tastic summer camp. Guess who this is for? If you just had to guess what age group this is for. Go ahead. Come on, bring it. Let me hear it. This is for... No, this is it's a rhetorical question.
Okay.
It is for 12 through 18-year-olds, which is absolutely disgusting. It's vile, satanic. The idea deserves to, burn in the fiery pits of hell, along with whoever came up with the idea for a drag-tastic summer camp. Let's see what this entails. The week-long camp will give individuals ages 12 to 18 the chance to, gotta get my air quotes ready, investigate drag history, while also creating drag personas. So it goes on to say you'll choose your name, explore hair and makeup techniques, and develop your character stage presence. At 12 to 18. It gets worse. So at the end of camp, participants will get to, and this is the really disgusting part, Marcus, and other people watching. At the end of camp, participants will get to celebrate the new drag personas with a private showcase. Now I have questions. Severe, these need to be answered. First off, what does this entail? When you say showcase, are you showing a bunch of 12-year-olds in drag, sexually to adults? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18-year-olds sexually in drag to adults. Next, I need to know who is going to this so that they can be doxxed and thrown into a lake with a millstone around their neck. Where can we submit these people for an actual investigation? They can't keep their tracks up. Like Marcus, people who would do this, pedophiles or no?
I don't know. The only person I can think of that has a legitimate reason to be there would be parent. And if you're not a parent at the a showcase, you shouldn't have any reason to be there. Because if you're there and you're not a parent and you're there to sexualize those kids, that's a pedophile.
Keep speaking, brother.
The sexualization of them kids, that's pedophilia. And I don't care if you think it's you've probably seen some of the liberal pushback saying, oh well, children is a sexual preference, pedophilia is a sexual preference. No, it's just a sick person. That's what it is. So I don't even, that shouldn't be a thing. Being able to let these kids be sexualized like that, it's ugh. And then to let people go to it's even worse.
Yeah, it's terrible. Like, what are we coming to? The fact that, this is where we are in America, that it's okay for, this to even be a thing. How? How in the world did it get like this? So, the pedophiles are coming for you. Groomers are coming for you. Child sexual abusers are coming for you. There's statistical data to lump all of them together. Here's what you need to do. We're going to end on this because I'm starting to have technical difficulties again with the camera, and we're actually going a little long as is. So, what are things we can do? Churches have to get together and pray. For bare minimum. People, churches have to get together and pray. Secondly, they have to get out and speak. Praying's fantastic. It's 100% what you should do. It's not the only thing you should do. You got to get out and speak. Honestly, churches in Seattle need to protest this. Seriously, go out, be loving, be peaceful, but protest it. And if this were to happen anywhere else, same thing needs to happen. So, and honestly, these people need to be called who they are. Groomers, pedophiles, we're doing a great job of that. And this election cycle is going to be really fun because this is going to be a central issue. Marcus, you have anything to finish us up on?
Yeah, I'm really hoping that anybody that's kind of in the middle of being between left or right wing is looking at what the liberal media is doing, and just the far left side's doing as far as the grooming tactics. And I hope they're seeing that and saying this is not okay, because it's not. There's no acceptable reason to be grooming a kid like they're doing, and like they want to do. It's beyond messed up that it's even remotely even a thing. And if it was the other way around, where say the right wing people were talking about their viewpoint on kids, oh my God, you'd hear it everywhere. So it's just sad that we're having to experience this, and it's sad seeing where this country's going. And I don't even want to know where we're going to be in 4 years, or not even in 3 years, if we don't have a good half election cycle this coming up year.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad. All right, Marcus, I can't thank you enough for being on. You definitely made this show better. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, a couple things I need you to do for me. First of all, like, subscribe if you haven't already. 2, leave a comment. I actually really enjoy reading them. 3, share this. As soon as this live stream ends, take it, share it on Facebook. Don't just share it on Facebook, because people can scroll by that. Send it on Messenger. This link right here to this video, you can hit the little share. It should be right under here. And send it on Messenger to everyone you know who has a family and who has small kids especially. Because this is information that they need to know. And then lastly, of course, go out and do something that'll, get the left to try and cancel you. Because if you're doing it, you're probably doing something right. Guys, we'll see you next week. We'll hopefully have an even smoother show, even more ironed out. And I thank you so much all for watching. Y'all be safe the rest of this week. See ya. Marcus?
See you guys.
See you guys.